Hello everyone, Don and Don back with the next progress report on the War Corsair. Okay, as you can see, I've got my new engine mount started. I still went with the same idea from before with the plywood base to hold it. This time I ran all thread all the way down through it. I think the last time I just put short bolts in there, but I bought a 3-foot piece, cut it up, was able to get 2 of these out of it and 4 of these out of it. So I was able to make them, and then I machined the plate on my CNC to peck these locations on the plate so they're exactly square. And then I put the plate on the board, squared it all up to where it needed to go, and then I clamped her and drilled down through. And now these bolts go all the way down through, but on the bottom I have it set up to, they're countersunk. The bolts are sunken in there, the nuts, so they'll set flat, so they're not going to be teetering on the bolts. So the idea was to possibly attach this to my granite slab over there, surface plate, to bolt her down. But anyway, as you see, I got the first 4 legs done, and I've actually got them started welded around each of these. So these are welded up here, and these are welded quite a bit around, most that I could get. The final welding will be done when you take it off, but right now if you take it off, you're just going to have 4 loose pieces. So right now I'm working on the cross brace. This is an X brace. There'll be another one coming from this corner down to here, so same as this. So this one's already cut the length and pre-notched. That you can see this edge is notched out here, cut off because it has to clear the tube from the other side. So that goes up in and gets welded right around to the base of that washer, just like the first one is, all the way around, so it's kind of square. You got a notch this way, and then it's cut flat across the top, so the center line of the tube goes up into this very center line of this tube. So right now this is just too high, you can't set it down in there, but this piece is going to need, literally going to come up around the back side of this, and because it's at an angle, it's not in line with this, it's over here, so it really needs to be kind of cut this way at an angle. Probably the easiest thing to do is just kind of lop it off, get it on there and keep fitting it till it fits right, till that base point here will fit on basically on the bottom outside of this, because this is a 1/2 inch diameter and these are 5/8 diameter. So this tubing's a little, it's thicker than it calls for, but it's not going to hurt anything. And then after those 2 crosses, you got to make this one. It's got to be basically made in 2 pieces. I was thinking that if I put it across here, I could, like a Christmas tree mount, notch it halfway through each tube, put it together, and then weld around it, and it'd be 2 straight sections without cutting this one up into 2 pieces and trying to cut this angle, this angle, this angle on each end, because you're working in 3 dimensions here. You're not working just X and Y. You're working in Z and also laid back, so the angles are extremely goofy. But I was able to draw up all the different angles, figuring, from the center of this point, which is the middle of these, from there to there, give me a base measurement. So from there to there, I know the length, and then from the base, from the center of the tube to the top of these washers was 5.5 inches, so I know the bottom length and the top length, like the bottom and length. So there's 5.5, and then the 67287 here, and that gives me the length of the diagonal, the long side of the triangle. Then you take that long side of the triangle and you put it here on the top, because that's where you're at, and you redraw, refigure out across this way. First one's figured out directly this way, up, down, and across. Now I'm going across this way and this way, and I know the length of that, and then I end up with a 59 degrees cut for the firewall side, because it squares up to that tube. And then the top side was refigured, and it came out to just under 49 degrees. But you can't just, it's basically 90 degrees. You got one this way and one this way, so they're 90 degrees apart from each other. But because it's splayed this way, the tube can't be cut at 90. It has to be turned, rolled off center for it to match up. So the first one you do, it kind of did that, and it was off. but luckily it was still too long, and then I was also able to configure the length of the tube, so that 869 is also from center line to this tube, center line to this tube. So from the center line here to the center line here, I got the dimensions. So, but I was able to notch it first, put it in there, and it was off a little on the angle. The angle was going more like this and not like this. So I was able to turn the tube a little bit and recut it, cut a little deeper, and I got it working. So I had to do that for both of them. The first one, you was trial and error. You put it up in there, kind of mark it, cut it, and it was okay. So the first one, you always screwed up just a little bit, but not bad enough, and then you can cut the second one more accurately. The first one just ends up with a little bit of a gap on one end or the other, and it's no big deal. It gets welded anyhow. So this is way much better than it was on the last two mounts I've ever built. I mean, I spent 3 different mornings, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. I was just on the CAD program trying to figure out all these angles, and had to shoot all these, had to go online to an online calculator to find the long side of a triangle. So it makes it real easy. Punch it right in the decimal points, and it spits out decimal points. So that worked really well. But the only angle you can't account for is this sweep. So now, this one I'll finish cutting this up tomorrow, fit it, tack it in, and then this one here I'll have to make a duplicate of this, but the opposite direction. I've got just enough left to do that in 5/8. And then the last tube's got to go from this point, center line of this stud, down to the top of this one. So you're going to go from, again, like a 1/2 inch tube here to a 5/8 tube on this end. It'll actually weld to the top of this tube. So you got 3 intersections. And once those are done, this at the bottom end will be locked in. These will be locked in here to here. And then the last piece is the hoop that's going to come around the alternators right here. This is the top of the engine. That last hoop I got to make will come across here, and that'll be a 1/2 inch tube. But this diagonal, I'm just going to run 1/2 inch tubing for that. Let me show you real quick of what I did for the setup to make all these cuts. Once I figured out what angle it is, the back side of this blade has a degree wheel on it, and the hard thing is trying to figure out, are you using the low angle degree or the high angle degree, because you're working from 90. You can go from 90 from 0 to 90, or you can go from 0 to 90 this way. So you got to think ahead. But this is a setup for the other long tube. I was, like I said, planning on it would be cut into 2 pieces, but I might see if I can't just notch each one crisscross, put it in there, and then weld it. That way I can leave this full length. This is too long. This is about 4 inches longer than I need. So, but anyway, the cutter bit, this is just a 1/2 inch router bit. It's the only 1/2 inch bit I had. I didn't have any end mills like this. So that's fine, because it's a 1/2 inch out here on the very tip. So as I swipe this thing across that tip back and forth, just keep feeding it in, swipe it, feed it, swipe it, until I get to the center line of this tube. I'll usually put a scribe mark right here, and when that scribe mark gets halfway across this bit, I'm where I need to be. And I take it out and deburr it. But before I take it out, if it's going up against the washer, then I take this bit out, and I put this big bit in there, and then I feed the tube in this way across to cut it square to this cut it flush there, and it gives me that square corner. So it fits up tight, tucks up in underneath that washer, and gets welded to the other tube, the 1/2 inch tube, and gets welded around the washer as well. So that's how that's done. And it works really well. And this thing, I mean, for just a cheap carbide bit, I've already done how many angles? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, at least 12 angles I've cut on this, or more, 12, 14, because I kind of messed up a couple and had to redo them. But I didn't have to change the tube. I was able to correct the tube, and was able to save using it, because that's the last piece of tubing I got right there for the 5/8. And then I've got plenty of 1/2 inch here. I've got thick wall and some thin wall. The thin wall is going to be used for the hoop. So that hoop's going to use up quite a bit, and that may or may not be long enough to get 2 more diagonals out of it. I think this stuff it's 1/2 inch by, I want to say it's probably 049 or 058. It's about as thick. Yeah, it's probably 058, just shy of a 1/16 inch. So, but on my original mount, you can see I used the 5/8 here and here, and then 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch on the top. The bottom I was able to use. This is what I mean by the X-brace on the bottom. This piece is solid, and then these are two separate pieces. So I'm thinking that I might be able to kind of get them up into position, mark this tube, cut it halfway through this tube, and then mark the other side and cut halfway through that tube, put them together, and then just weld where the cuts are. Might be easier than, I mean, trying to cut these out so they're straight looking and that's a little pain in the butt. So, alright. Yeah, there wasn't anything really on here that I could reuse 5/8 that was long enough. Everything's too short. If I was able to cut chunks out, since out this was 1/2 inch, you know. But it is what it is. So as for the rest of the plane, I haven't touched any on this. Just been working on that. Yesterday I had to go to a family reunion, so I was gone 4 or 5 hours, so I wasn't only out here maybe 3 or 4 hours yesterday working on that mount, cutting those angles and that, notching them tubes. So there's not much else to report on this. I haven't done anything. It's just all been working on this mount. So, alright, I'm going to keep this one a little short tonight because that's basically all I got to talk about. But once I get these diagonals in, I'll weld a bunch of it up. And then I get the hoop made, weld that all up, and then when I can't, the problem is you can't get up into all this area with this bolted up, so what I can do is unbolt this plate, take these 2 bolt holes, bring it over to this side, bolt it back down, then get up under here, weld this, and then take it back off, and then use these 2 bolt holes, bolt it back down over here so the plate's hanging off of this side, and then I can weld on this, and that'll kind of help keep it from moving around. Or I can take the plate this way and bolt it down here, and then weld down here, and then do the same, move it down here, because these bolt holes, yeah, no, that won't work. These are too wide. These are different spacings, and these are different spacings, so that won't work either. Oh well, just thinking on the fly, folks. But either way, I started my first one. I started to just use the CNC, the peck drill, to make a spot, and then I drilled it out on my drill press. But first time I forgot to add the 1/2 inch for this one to start here. So I started here. I was like, oh dang it, and then I redid it and re-drilled it here, because you can see there's the first attempt. The second attempt was successful, but then when I measured it, it didn't match my dimensions on board, so I had to go back to my sheets on the computer, and I didn't make the change in the computer. I actually measured the motor mount, and this is the correct distance here. You can see there's a little bit of a gap, you know, from the metal to there, and this one's basically touching. So we're only talking 50 thousandths is all it was off. But so I just moved another 1/2 inch and drilled a second set of holes. I didn't want to cut this off and then use it that way, because I still have all this material left from here to here. I cut it off of the original piece, and you can see the notch in there from cutting the other parts out. But I wanted to keep it as big as possible in case I need another piece of 1/4 inch of good plate, so I haven't really ruined it. I can lop that off, but you know, a lot of parts I make, you know, it can be what they call that, when you're making multiple pieces, they stick them all in, and the program will put them all in there to save material. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, that's the idea. Alright, well, I think I'm going to cut her off. It's been hotter than hell yesterday and today. Not too awful bad in here. It is cooling down, but they're still calling for some good heat wave next few days. So, alright everyone, that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to go inside. The wife's got dinner cooking again. Tonight she got chicken and such making, so it should be done by the time I'm finished with this video. Alright everyone, that's going to do her, and I will catch you guys again Tuesday night. I should have most of this done, if not finished. There's nothing going to hold me up other than, you know, putting all the little triangle gussets in. So those will all have to be cut out and welded in. So there's a lot of work left to do, and then the finger wraps around each ends of these. So it's not going to be done in the next day or so. Alright everybody, again, appreciate everyone taking the time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, or videos, and appreciate the ones that you guys are leaving now, and I will catch you guys again Tuesday night. So for now, this is going to be done or done out.